Domenical had finally solved the riddle of the sands. The Sahara has been a desert wasteland for 3 million years. Radar fitted to the space shuttle revealed a striking clue that the desert once harbored a slash of green across its burning sands. The radar pierced the sand to a depth of 16 feet and revealed what looked like a hidden network of ancient waterways crisscrossing the desert. This finding stumped scientists. 3 million years ago, the Sahara turned from rainforest into desert. Now it seemed that it had been home to a lot of water at some point in the following 3 million years. Researchers followed the NASA images north into Tunisia, to the edge of a deep depression in the Sahara, the site of their first clue.
This is what we're looking for. There's some quite intact shells here. This deposit is largely composed of intact shells.
And these are not shells from the ocean.
So here we have half of a Cadastroderma glaucum shell, which is a clear sign of a freshwater lake. This is just one example of what must be millions of shells. We must be somewhere near the shoreline of the lake here.
Further shell deposits revealed that this lake was giant, about the size of West Virginia. But the shells provide even more remarkable evidence: the date when this lake existed. Carbon dating puts them at 90,000 years old and leads to one conclusion.
To have all these shells here, we must have had a lot of rain falling in the vicinity of this lake and a green Sahara.
The series of ancient lakes were so large, they've been dubbed mega lakes.
So this is the far shore of the mega lake. And there's just one of many lakes across the green Sahara.
When Drake added up the evidence of all the lake locations, he uncovered an astonishing fact.
Okay, so if this is North Africa here, and this is the edge of the Sahara Desert, so we're here in Tunisia with a mega lake here, and we know there's another mega lake here in southern Libya, an even larger one here in Chad. If they all meet their maximum size, they would have covered 10% of the Sahara.
That would have made them 3 times larger than the Great Lakes. What is now the biggest desert on Earth was once home to some of the planet's largest bodies of fresh water. Sudden changes in climate have been connected to everything from volcanic activity to meteors hitting the Earth.
When we first collected these measurements, I really kind of almost fell back in my chair, because what we saw was there are many switches like this in the climate system.
To explain these regular dramatic changes, Domenical looked beyond the Sahara to the rotation of the Earth itself. More specifically, small wobbles in the Earth's orbit around the Sun. The theory is that the wobble causes the Earth to tilt slightly. So the monsoons which drench southern Africa today shift up, pouring rain onto the dunes of the Sahara. Crucially, these wobbles occur every 20,000 years.
So there's this perfect one-to-one match between when Africa was wet and the stage of the wobble cycle. And this goes back millions of years.
Each time the rain belt moves up, the landscape is transformed, and the desert turns green.
To me, the single most impressive thing about the Sahara is how small fluctuations in something as simple as a wobble in the Earth's orbit can lead to these really just totally dramatic changes in the climate of a region that's so large.
Scientists now had evidence of how and why the Sahara turned green. They knew that giant lakes covered much of the desert, but they had no proof they were connected. Were these vast, isolated rain pools or part of an interconnected river system, as suggested by NASA's radar images? Scientists knew that the Sahara was an ever-changing environment. Now, for the first time, they had a sense of just how fast it changed. As the Earth wobble shifted the rain belt away, the return to desert was swift and deadly.
These transitions would have happened almost on a generational timescale, that one generation after the next would have realized that where they're living is no longer sustainable.
The story of this cave started with a tilt in the Earth's axis that stopped the rain falling on the Sahara. What must have seemed like a never-ending drought would, in just 200 years, turn a gentle, fertile region the size of the United States into a brutal, searing wilderness, a wasteland we see today. The investigation into how quickly the Sahara returns to desert has uncovered two striking clues. Ostrich eggshell beads show people and animals inhabited a green Sahara just 7,000 years ago. Ocean sediments show that the Sahara returned to desert at breakneck pace in just 200 years. The next wobble in the Earth's axis is set for 15,000 years from now. Scientists now know that every 20,000 years, a wobble in the Earth's orbit shifts the monsoon north, so rain pours down onto the desert.
Much of that rain that fell over the Sahara is now stored underground.
It's called the Nubian Sandstone Aquifer, and like a giant subterranean sponge, it sits below Egypt, Libya, and Sudan. And this is just one aquifer. Scientists are now using ground-penetrating radar to locate and map other aquifers across the Sahara. They hold the promise of even more fresh water.